Hey, what's up? I'm Jay Maas from Reverb.com, and today we're going to talk about Berzerk, a great new distortion plugin from Waves Audio. Berzerk is far from your average distortion plugin. It has a few tricks up its sleeve that make it an amazing creative tool. Today we're going to be using the plugin on both guitar and bass, and I'd like to offer a huge shout out to the band August Burns Red, who was kind enough to send me the stems for their song Whitewashed. This song has like over 17 million plays on Spotify, and it gives us a great session to experiment with. Super pro tracks, a super proven record, should be a lot of fun. So let's go dig in and see what Berzerk can do. Okay, so real quick, let's just listen to this mix. I threw this together kind of quickly, but I think it sounds really good. Kind of get a feel for the band, feel for the song. We're going to be looking over this cool sort of breakdown part with this melodic lead over it as what we're going to augment today. We're just taking a little section, although the entire song super rips. All right, let's listen just to the mix now. Yeah, it sounds awesome. So I have an instance of Berserk on the bass DI, and let's kind of see what this thing can do, starting with bass. So these are the default settings. I just loaded it up, and let's hit play. And obviously we have our mix knob here. We can blend in. But I think before we blend, let's get something more aggressive going that's really worth blending. Oh, I like this a lot. This temperature knob is a really nice thing to have, especially with digital distortions, because digital distortions typically are too cold for my liking. So to be able to warm this up with a single knob is actually really handy. I bet I find myself keeping this as warm as possible because this is like an organic mix and I'm gonna want it to sit just right. If I was doing something like more electronic or whatever, I would use this as an effect. I'd probably keep it more digital sounding, but for the sake of what we're doing right now, I'm gonna make sure it's nice and warm. Now that we've done that, let's boost some drive. So what I did there is I sort of turned the knob until it started getting weird, and then I rolled it back right to where it's on the edge. And now we're going to increase the density of the distortion with this order and disorder knob. It's really nice that they give you this visual representation of what's going on with the distortion curve. I always find confirming what I'm hearing with what I'm seeing can be really useful when I'm mixing. I'm doing the same thing with the density knob here that I did with the drive knob. I'm just pushing it so I feel like it gets more character, it's a little cooler. I pushed it right to the edge of where I thought the breakup might be too much, and then again, just rolled it back. So right between your drive knob and your density knob, you have this link button. This is awesome because if you want to keep this ratio, but mess around a little more, you can. All right, so we picked our character, we played with our drive, we played with our density. Now I'm gonna go into the EQ section and I'm gonna do a little bit of shaping. I'm gonna boost the high end a lot, and then I'm gonna sweep around with the frequency knob to figure out where I wanna boost. I think right around 4K sounds cool. I hear a lot of pick attack there. And by boosting the high end on the pick attack, we're really flattening that out. I think the mid-range sounds pretty cool, but I'm gonna go boost some lows in a similar fashion. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. We've created this sort of scooped and fuzzy distortion that I think is gonna play really well with the DI, which has more mid-range in it in general. Let's put it in the mix, turn up the bass. I discovered a long time ago that distortion on bass can be really deceiving. When you're soloed on your bass DI or your bass guitar or whatever you're adding distortion to, you're almost always feeling like, oh man, this is like way too much distortion. But then when you put it in a dense part of the mix, that compression and that extra aggressive nature really holds the mix together and you don't hear the distortion as much. It's just there doing its job. The entire point of this plugin is to turn the knobs, get creative, and have fun. I think now we'll move on to guitars. Okay, remember in the intro when I told you that this distortion plugin has a few extra tricks up its sleeve? We're gonna get really crazy right now. We're gonna think outside the box. We're gonna do some side chaining. We're gonna do some MIDI generation. We're gonna culminate all of these things together into Berzerk to make a really cool effect. All right, so here is the lead guitar that we're going to affect. I'm gonna bypass Berzerk so that we can listen to it real quick. It's just an octave part. It's really simple, but we're gonna make it really cool and really crazy. So let's just listen to the octave part as it stands right now. So really quickly, I just made some MIDI that follows the notes of the lead. I'll solo that now. We're going to use this MIDI to make Berserk do something really, really cool. So let's take Berserk off bypass. We're going to turn our sidechain on. That's really important. This means that Berserk can accept signals from sources that aren't the track it's on. So we can take the signal from our MIDI track and send it to Berserk to start generating some really cool effects. To do that, we go to our sidechain section inside of the plugin and we turn it on external. Now we click on our MIDI track, we go to Audio Sends. We select out of our sidechain Berserk. We're going to turn it on and this will toggle if it's post fader or pre fader. Well, for this instance, we want the sidechain to send out pre fader, which means we can take that annoying sine wave we generated, pull it all the way down so we don't have to hear it, but we're still sending these pitches to the plugin to play with. Okay, now that our sidechain is set to external and the MIDI is sending to the plugin, I'm going to turn the mix all the way up so all we hear is the crazy stuff that Berserk's going to generate. Let's solo this and see what it does. That's pretty wild, right? So now I'm going to take this crazy distorted synth, I'm going to EQ it and shape it a little bit, and we're going to blend it into the mix. We're going to warm it up just a little bit more because this is going to be blending with real instruments. And I'm going to go into the EQ section and I'm going to remove some of this rumble. So I'm going to come down to about 70, 69, 70 hertz and roll off some low end. I want this to be mostly mid-range and high focused since we have a great bottom end from what we did to the bass guitar already, and I want it to blend in with the guitars naturally. Okay, and the way that I want to blend this into the mix is going to be just a little bit different this time. I'm going to duplicate. Okay, now with my tracks duplicated, I've taken Berserk off my main track. I still have it on my duplicate track, and I just want to apply some subtle reverb so we can spread out all of this crazy stuff to the sides and still let the lead do its part, but add some texture and add some flavor. That sounds cool, it's pretty spooky. I like the reverb, but I think I want to increase the octaves on Berserk. If you click these plus buttons, you can set your low and your high octave thresholds. Let's move this up so it'll be more pronounced. So that sounds crazy, but I kind of love it. Let's tuck it into the mix and see if we can make it gel. All right, I've got this part on loop, so let's hit play and I'll start blending in the new texture. Here's without, and then I'll turn it on. I think we've made things way more exciting. So there you have it. That's a quick run through of just some of the cool creative things you can do with this new plugin. I'm really excited to incorporate it into my workflow. I can't wait to see what awesome creative things I come up with, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of uses for it as well. With that, I am Jay Maas from Reverb.com. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. Until next time, adios.